again. I don't know if anybody asked this or not when I ran out, but ticket prices, what do you think it's going to range by?
I don't think we really haven't set ticket prices yet.
Too early to say, Rudy, but you know, we want to make sure that it's a great fan experience for as many fans as possible. So I mean, it'll be consistent with how we priced other events, but it'll also reflect the fact that we're going to set the kind of records that Dana's spoken about.
I'll probably ask Tom's question, Dana, just in case, but how important for the UFC is the grassroots movement and events here in Ontario to help build the fighters that one day will graduate to the big show in the UFC, and how important is it to get it going here in Ontario?
It's hugely important, not just here in Ontario, but across the country. I mean, you've seen how training facilities have increased exponentially over the last several years. You've seen how different events have been able to bring our fans much more closely together. So it's critical, and we're actually going to start having conversations in Ottawa with Sport Canada about developing the amateur sport, not only here in Ontario but across the country. And we want to have more and more people have the chance to grow up with the sport, to train in the sport, because they'll end up being fans. I mean, you've heard me say this before, Joe. I mean, I grew up playing rugby, and so I watch rugby, and I'm a fan of rugby because I played rugby. And I don't think anything's different than our sport as well. There's great opportunities for athletes to train, young and old, male and female. It doesn't matter where they come from. And I think it's really, really important. And we've also talked, and Dana and I have chatted about this as well, about developing at some point in time a Canadian fight series, which allow other younger and up-and-coming fighters to have a chance to learn, to compete, to come out into their own communities. There's a ton of communities across this country that can host UFC events. Not every one of them can host a numbered event like Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver, but we want to bring our sport to as many people as possible. So it is critically important.
James Bryden, Sportsnet.ca. How are you?
Great, thanks.
Obviously, with the last 3 years, you've had UFC events in Montreal around April, May. Obviously, with this Toronto announcement, I'm guessing it's not going to be around then. But is there a time frame for the next Montreal? What about Vancouver and other Canadian cities?
We haven't set, other than the April 30th date that Dana just announced. We have plans to come back to Toronto on at least to Canada on 3 times a year. We haven't set a date for either Vancouver or Montreal in 2011. I'm confident that we'll be back. I mean, these are great cities. These are great venues for our sport. But we haven't set the date yet, James. But I think we'll probably hear about Vancouver in early 2011. But a date hasn't been set because we still have some work to do with the city there.
Is it something where you'd want to spread out the Canadian events over the year, or does it matter?
Well, I think that one of the things that we've talked about is we have certain events, tentpole events as we call them, that occur right now within the UFC schedule. And we always have a big fight on the New Year's weekend, Super Bowl weekend in Vegas, as well as the July 4th weekend and Memorial Day. We'd like to add a Canadian event to those tentpoles so that every year we know and the fans know that we're going to be coming to a Toronto or Vancouver on a certain weekend at the same time of the year. That's our plan. We haven't finalized it yet, but you can understand why it would make some sense for us to do
that. Dana Corey Warren from TSN. Yesterday, the government of Ontario announced that they would start taking applications for a bid January 1st, but you're announcing a date. How do you reconcile that? Is there already a deal in place with the government, or is there still more steps to go through with the bid process?
Yeah, they obviously, I'm sure everybody saw, they sent us letters saying that they were taking applications, and I don't think there's any secret that we've been ready to run on this thing for a long time. We've been ready to go. Like I said, we've had things in place. We don't have a card, but we're able to, we plan our year out, all the fights that we're going to do, where we're going to be, and we've had Toronto penciled in for a long time. So finally, when they did open it up and it was ready to roll, we're here today announcing the date. Hope I answered your question. I don't know if I did.
I can add to that too, Corey. I think that the government has announced that they'll be accepting applications come January the 1st. I can assure you that our application will be on that day, and I like our chances of being accepted.
Question for both Tom and Dana. Tom, first for you, the UFC gym franchise is continuing to expand. With the news now that Ontario is officially going to have mixed martial arts events, is there a chance a UFC gym will open up in Canada's biggest market? And Dana, for yourself, now that MMA is going to be sanctioned in Ontario as of January 1st, Ultimate Fighter Canada, is this a city that potentially could be where the house is when they start having the Ultimate Fighter Canada shows?
Absolutely, yeah. In working on all these Ultimate Fighters around the world, oddly enough, I thought that Canada would be one of the first ones we'd announce, but it actually won't be. But we are working on the Ultimate Fighter Canada, and yeah, who knows? It could happen anywhere in this country. And then, I don't know if you're up to date on the UFC gyms or not, but
Go ahead, Dana.
we're looking at Montreal. Will be the first one.
After, Dana, if you could just articulate, after all these years of work pushing the Ontario government, could you just explain what it means to you personally to have this date, to know that this is going to happen?
Yeah, to be here today in Toronto announcing that we're coming here, like I said, this is one of the many things that we've been working hard on for years. And you know, when you have these goals that you're just going in every day and digging and trying to get done. And when you finally do, it feels good, especially in a place like Canada, who's treated the UFC so well. And you know, every time, not only here, but everywhere we go all over the world, there's so many Canadians there at the events. And you know, I think there's even a lot of people here in Canada that don't realize how many Canadian fans there are. And I feel it everywhere I go. I don't just feel it when I'm in Canada. I feel it anywhere in the United States. I feel it when I'm in the UK, when we're in Germany. You name the place that we've done an event, there are people from Canada there. It's incredible. So to be here today announcing that we're coming finally to Toronto, this is a big day for us.
Maybe just one more question before we break into one-on-ones with Dana.
I know there's I think besides George St. Pierre, there's 6 other Canadians on the undercard. There's one in every fight. How important, both of you, is having Canadians on Canadian UFC cards, you know, to grow and promote local talent? How important is it?
Well, everywhere we go, one of the great things about the sport is there isn't a country anywhere in the world where we don't have fighters or couldn't get a fighter from, and including Canada, and just, you know, to support everything that I just said about how popular it is here in Canada, how many people love it, the fact that there's so much talent that's coming out of Canada too. And you know, one of the things, this isn't one of those sports like boxing where we have to go in and we have to put local talent on the card because you can't sell tickets or you can't do this and that. You know, when we come into people's hometowns, they want to fight. You know, these kids that are from Canada get the opportunity to fight on a George St. Pierre undercard in Montreal, in Canada. People, you know, that's what they love to do. And it's no different than the first time we go to India and a guy lives in India or any other city we're in. You know, guys get so fired up to fight in their hometowns and in their own country.
And speaking of some you know, hometown fighters, later on this afternoon at 4 o'clock over at the Real Sports Bar and Grill, there's going to be an autograph session and a Q&A session with Sam Stout from London and Claude Patrick from Mississauga. So 2 great Canadian fighters who are obviously not on this card, but you know, are really anxious. And as soon as you can bet, as these fighters find out that we've announced April the 30th in Toronto, there's going to be a lineup of every Canadian is going to want to be on that card. Absolutely everyone.
It's true. And one more thing I want to say before we wrap up here. The other thing, all the great things that I have to say about Canada and the people here and everything else, the media too. The media up here, you guys are always awesome and professional. You've always treated us with nothing but respect, and I appreciate you very much. Thank you for coming out today.